Welcome to JD Reacts, and we're about to continue the reading of this Georgia Indictment. Let go!
All my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life. Look, all my life, been grinding all my life. Sacrifice, hustle paid the price. Want a slice, got to roll the dice, that's why. All my life, I've been grinding all my life.
All right, well, we left off with, what page is this? We left off with page 42. All right, Act 86. Now I'm about to continue with page 43, Act 87. Let's continue. On or about the 14th day of December 2020, Stephen Clifford Lee attempted to commit the felony offense of influencing witnesses in a violation of OCGA 16-10-93B 1A in Fulton County, Georgia, by traveling to the home of Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker, and speaking to her neighbor with the intent to knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward Ruby Freeman by purporting to offer her help and with the intent to influence her testimony in an official proceeding in Fulton County, Georgia, concerning events at State Farm Arena in the November 30, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. This was an act of racketeering activity pursuant to OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5A, 27, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. All right, Act 88. On or about the 15th day of December 2020, Stephen Lee attempted to commit the felony offense of influencing witnesses in violation of OCGA 16-10-93B 1A in Fulton County, Georgia, by traveling to the home of Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker, and knocking on her door with the intent to knowingly engage in misleading conduct toward Ruby Freeman, by purporting to offer her help and with intent to influence her testimony in an official proceeding in Fulton County, Georgia, concerning events at State Farm Arena in November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. This is an act of racketeering activity pursuant to OCGA 16-14-3, 5A, parentheses 25, parentheses 27, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. All right, Act 89. On or between the 15th day of December 2020 and the 4th day of January 2021, Stephen Lee solicited Harrison William Prescott Floyd, an individual associated with the organization Black Voices for Trump, to assist with his effort to speak to Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker. Stephen Lee stated to Harrison Floyd that Freeman was afraid to talk to Stephen Lee because he was a white man. This were overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy. Wow. All right, Act 90. On or about the 18th day of December 2020, Donald Trump met with Rudolph Giuliani, Sidney Powell, unindicted co-conspirator individual 20, whose identity is known to the grand juror, and others at the White House. The individuals present at the meeting discussed certain strategies and theories intended to influence the outcome of the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election, including seizing voting equipment and appointing Sidney Catherine Powell as special counsel with a broad authority to investigate allegations of voter fraud in Georgia and elsewhere. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 91. On or about the 21st day of December 2020, Sidney Catherine Powell sent an email to the Chief Operations Officer of Sullivan Strickler LLC and instructed him that she, an unindicted co-conspirator, individual 6, individual 21, and individual 22, whose identities are known to the grand juror, were to immediately receive a copy of all data obtained by Sullivan Strickler LLC from Dominion Voting Systems Equipment in Michigan. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 92. On or about the 22nd day of December 2020, Mark Meadows traveled to the Cobb County Civic Center in Cobb County, Georgia, and attempted to observe the signature match audit being performed there by law enforcement officers from the Georgia Bureau of Investigation and the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State, despite the fact that the audit process was not open to the public. Wow.
Stupid.
While present at the center, Mark Meadows spoke to Georgia Deputy Secretary of State Jordan Fuchs, Office of the Georgia Secretary of State Chief Investigator Francis Watson, Georgia Bureau of Investigation Special Agent in charge Brian Rich, and others who prevented Mark Randall Meadows from entering into the space where the audit was being conducted. Good for them. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 93. On or about the 23rd day of December 2020, Donald Trump placed a telephone call to the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State Investigator Francis Watson that had been previously arranged by Mark Meadows. During the phone call, Donald Trump falsely stated that he had won the November 3rd, 2020
Stupid.
presidential election in Georgia by hundreds of thousands of votes and stated to Watson that when the right answer comes out, you'll be praised. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Dudes couldn't take the L. All right, Act 94, page number 44. Oh, okay, Act number 40. Act 94. On or about the 23rd day of December 2020, John Charles Eastman sent an email to Kenneth Cheeseborough, an unindicted co-conspirator, individual 3, whose identity is known to the grand juror, with the subject forward draft 2 with edits. In the email, John Eastman attached a memorandum titled Privileged and Confidential, December 23rd memo on January 6 scenario doc X, and stated, as for hearings, I think both are necessary. The fact that we have multiple slates of lectures demonstrates the uncertainty of either. That should be enough. And I agree with Ken. Judiciary Committee hearings on the constitutionality of the Electoral Count Act could invite counter views that we do not believe should constrain Pence or Grassley in the exercise of power they have under the 12th Amendment. Better for them just to act boldly and be challenged, since the challenge would likely lead to the court denying review on justifiable political question grounds. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page number 45, Act 95. On or about the 25th day of December 2020, Donald John Trump placed a telephone call to Speaker of the Arizona House of Representatives, Rusty Bowers, for the purpose of soliciting, requesting, and opportuning Bowers to unlawfully appoint presidential electors from Arizona. During the call, Bowers stated to Trump, I voted for you, I work for you, I campaign for you. I just want to do anything illegal for you. Hey, good for him. The telephone call was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 96. On or about the 27th day of December 2020, Mark Meadows sent a text message to the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State, Chief Investigator Francis Watson, that stated in part, is there a way to speed up Fulton County signature verification in order to have results before January 6th if the Trump campaign assists financially? Ooh, Jesus. This was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 97. On or about the 27th day of December 2020, Donald John Trump solicited Acting United States Attorney General Jeff Rosen, Acting United States Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue to make a false statement by stating, just say that the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 98. On or about the 28th day of December 2020, Jeffrey Clark attempted to commit the felony offense of false statements and writings and violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly and willfully making a false writing and document knowing the same to contain the false statement that the United States Department of Justice identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states, including the state of Georgia, and statement being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments, agencies of state government, and county and city law enforcement agencies.
Stupid.
And on or about the 28th day of December 2020, Jeffrey Clark sent an email to acting United States Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen and acting United States Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue and requested authorization to send said false writing and document to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives David Ralston, and President pro tempore of the Georgia Senate Butch Miller, which constitutes a substantial step toward the commission of false statements and writings. OCGA 16-10-20. This is an overt act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. All right. Page 46, Act 99. On or about the 28th day of December 2020, Jeffrey Clark solicited acting United States Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen and acting United States Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue to sign and send a document that falsely stated that the United States Department of Justice had identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states, including the state of Georgia, to Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives David Ralston, and President pro tempore of the Georgia Senate Butch Miller. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 100. On or about the 30th day of December 2020, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump. Hearings from Atlanta on the Georgia election overturned now being broadcast. Check it out. OAN, Newsmax, and many more. Brian Kemp should resign from office. He's an obstructionist who refuses to admit that we won Georgia. Big. Also won the other swing states. This is an overact in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 101. On or about the 30th day of December 2020, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account Real Donald Trump. Hearings from Atlanta on the Georgia election overturned now being broadcast live via RSBN network. Website, the list of the website. This is overt act in furtherance of conspiracy.
Stupid.
You notice all these freaking cable channels and websites he's naming are freaking from the right. There's no other, like, from the left, no left websites, no in the middle websites of cable. See, it's all from the right. You want to have a conversation, you need to get advice. No, not advice. You need to get other people's takes. Okay. Act 102. On or about the 30th day of December 2020, Rudolph William Lewis Giuliani, Ray Stallings Smith, Robert David Chile committed the felony offense of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer in violation of OCGA 16-4-7 and 16-10-1 in Fulton County, Georgia, by soliciting and requesting and opportuning certain public officers and serving as elected members of the Georgia Senate and present at a Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting, including unindicted co-conspirator individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury. Senators Brandon Beach, Bill Heath, William Ligon, Michael Reed, and Blake Tillery to engage in conduct constituting the felony offense of violation of oath by a public officer, OCGA 16-10-1, by unlawfully appointing presidential electors from the state of Georgia in the willful and intentional violation of the terms of the oath of said persons as prescribed by law, with the intent that said person engage in said conduct. This is over act and further to a conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 103. On or about the 30th day of December 2020, Rudy Giuliani committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in a violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, unknowingly and willfully and lawfully making at least one of the following statements and representations to members of the Georgia Senate present at Judiciary Subcommittee meeting. Number 1, that Fulton County election workers fraudulently counted certain ballots as many as 5 times at State Farm Arena on November 3rd, 2020. Number 2, that 2,560 felons voted legally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stupid.
Number 3, that 10,315 dead people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stupid.
Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigations, departments and agencies of state government and county and city law enforcement agencies. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 104, on or about the 30th day of December 2020, Ray Smith III committed the felony offense of false statements or writings and violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making at least one of the following statements and representations to members of the Georgia Senate present at Senate Judiciary Committee Subcommittee meeting. Number 1, that's Georgia Secretary of State General Counsel Brian Germany stated that his office had sent letters to 8,000 people who voted illegally in November 3rd, 2020 presidential election and told them not to vote in the January 5th, 2020 runoff election. Number 2, that the Georgia Secretary of State admitted that they had a 90% accuracy rate in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election, that there's still a 10% margin that's not accurate. Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments and agencies of state government and county and city law enforcement agencies. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA and 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 48, Act 105. On or about the 30th day of December 2020, Robert David Chile committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making at least one of the following statements and representations to members of the Georgia Senate present at Senate Judiciary Subcommittee meeting. Number 1, that poll watchers and media at State Farm Arena were told late in the evening of December 3rd, 2020, that their vote count was being suspended until the next morning and to go home because of major water main break. Number 2, the Fulton County election workers at State Farm Arena voted the same ballots over and over again November 3rd, 2020. Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments and agencies of state government and county and city law enforcement agencies. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 106, on or about the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account where Donald Trump, we now have far more votes than needed to flip Georgia in the presidential race. Massive voter fraud took place. Thank you to the Georgia legislature for today's revealing meeting. This is an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 107, on or about the 31st day of December 2020, Jenna Lynn Ellis wrote a memorandum titled Memorandum Replying to Constitutional Analysis of Vice President Authority for January 6, 2021 Electoral College vote count to Donald Trump. The memorandum outlined a strategy for disrupting and delaying the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2020, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states. It stated the vice president should therefore not open any of the votes from 6 states, including Georgia, that were falsely characterized as having electoral delegates in dispute. This is an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Wow. All right, page 49, Act 108. On or about the 31st day of December 2020, Donald Trump and John Eastman committed the felony offense of filing false documents in violation of OCGA 16-20.1, parentheses B, as in boy, parentheses 1, in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowing filing document titled Verified Complaint for Emergency Injunctive and Declaratory Relief in the matter of Trump versus Kemp, case 1:20- Charlie Victor -05310 Mike Hotel Charlie in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. A court of the United States having reached to know that said document contained at least one of the following material false statements. One, that as many as 2,506 felons with an uncompleted sentence voted illegally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Number two, that at least 6,247 underage people voted illegally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Number three, that at least 2,423 individuals voted illegally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia who were not listed in the state's record as having been registered to vote. Number four, that at least 1,043 individuals voted legally in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election who had illegally registered to vote using a postal office box as their habitation. Number five, that as many as 10,315 or more dead people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Number six, that deliberate misinformation was used to instruct Republican poll watchers and members of the press to leave the premises for the night at approximately 10 p.m. on November 3rd, 2020 at State Farm Arena in Fulton County, Georgia. Earlier on the same day, John Eastman sent an email to attorneys associated with the Trump campaign admitting his knowledge that at least some of the allegations in the verified complaint were not accurate. This filing was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and overact in the furtherance of the conspiracy. Act 109, on or about the first day of January 2021, and the Cheeseboro sent an email to John Charles Eastman, an unindicted co-conspirator, individual 3, whose identity is known to the grand jury. In the email, Kenneth John Cheeseboro outlined a strategy for disrupting and delaying the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states. Is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 50, Act 110. On or about the second day of January 2021, Scott Hall, a Georgia bail bondsman, placed a telephone call to Jeffrey Clark and discussed the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. The telephone call was 63 minutes in duration. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 111. On or about the second day of January 2021, Jeffrey Buzzer Clark solicited acting United States Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen and acting United States Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue to sign and send a document that falsely stated that the United States Department of Justice had identified significant concerns that may have impacted the outcome of the election in multiple states, including the state of Georgia, the Georgia Governor Brian Kemp, Speaker of the Georgia House of Representatives David Ralston, and President pro tempore of the Georgia Senate Butch Miller. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Or Act 112, on or about the second day of January 2021, Donald John Trump, Mark Reynolds Meadows committed the felony offense of solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer in violation of OCGA 16-4-7 and 16-10-1 in Fulton County, Georgia, unlawfully soliciting, requesting, and opportuning Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a public officer, to engage in conduct constituting a felony offense of violation of oath by a public officer, OCGA 16-10-1, by unlawfully altering, unlawfully adjusting, and otherwise unlawfully influencing the certified returns for presidential electors for the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Willful intentional violation of the terms of the oath of said person as prescribed by law, with intent that said person engaged in said conduct that was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 51, Act 113. On or about the second day of January 2021, Donald Trump committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in violation of OCGA and 16-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and unlawfully making at least one of the following false statements and representations to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, Georgia Deputy Secretary of State Georgia Futz, Georgia Secretary of State General Counsel Ryan Germany. Number one, Anywhere from 250,000 to 300,000 ballots were dropped mysteriously into the rolls in November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stupid.
Number two, thousands of people attempted to vote in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia were told they could not because a ballot had already been cast in the name.
Stop the cap.
Number three, that 4,502 people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia who were not on the voter registration list.
Stupid.
Number four, that 904 people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia who registered at an address that was a post office box.
Stop the cap.
Number five, that Ruby Freeman was a professional vote scammer and known political operative.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Number six, that Ruby Freeman, her daughter, and others were responsible for fraudulent awarding at least 18,000 ballots to President Biden and State Farm Arena the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Number seven, that close to 5,000 dead people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Number eight, that 139% of people voted in November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Detroit.
Stop the cap. Stupid.
Number nine, that 200,000 more votes were recorded than the number of people who voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Pennsylvania.
Stop the cap.
Number 10, that thousands of dead people voted in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Michigan.
Stupid.
Number 11, that Ruby Freeman stuffed the ballot boxes.
Stupid.
Number 12, that hundreds of thousands of ballots had been dumped into Fulton County, another county adjacent to Fulton County in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia.
Stupid.
All right, page number 52, continuing. Number 13, that he won the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia by 400,000 votes.
What?
Said statements being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and that Georgia Bureau of Investigations, departments, and agencies of state government. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA section 14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy. All right. Page 52, Act 114. On or about the third day of January 2020, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account, where Donald Trump, I spoke to Secretary of State Brett Raffensperger yesterday about Fulton County and voter fraud in Georgia. He was unwilling or unable to answer questions as ballots on a table scam, ballot destruction, out-of-state voters, dead voters, and more. He has no clue. This is an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Yeah, Trump, you have no clue. All right, Act. We're going to page 53, Act number 115. On about the third day of January 2021, Stephen Clifford Lee, Harrison Floyd, and Trayvon Cuddy or Cootie placed in multiple telephone calls and sent text messages to each other and to other individuals involved in the conspiracy that include the following text messages. Number one, all right, the text messages include, number one, at 7:48 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Ruby Freeman. Wow, a Fulton County, Georgia election works, and that was unsuccessful.
Stupid.
Number two, at 7:49 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Ruby Freeman. That was unsuccessful.
Stupid.
At 7:49 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. At 7:53 p.m., Harrison Floyd sent a text message to Ruby Freeman.
Stupid.
At 8:03 p.m., Trayvon Cuddy placed a call to Harrison Floyd. Number six, at 8:11 p.m., Harrison William Floyd placed a telephone call to unidentified co-conspirator individual 23, whose identity is known to the grand jury. Number seven, at 8:18 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Stephen Lee. Number eight, at 8:48 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number nine, at 9:16 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 10, at 9:33 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 11, at 9:50 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Stephen Clifford Lee.
Stupid.
This is over acts and further city conspiracy. All right, page 54, Act 116. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Trayvon Cuddy, having been recruited by Harrison Floyd, traveled from Chicago, Illinois to Atlanta, Georgia, and caused a certain individual whose identity is known to the grand jury to pick her up from a train station in Fulton County, Georgia, for the purpose of attempting to contact Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker. Is an overact and further see the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 117. On or about the 4th day of January 21, Trayvon Cuddy traveled to Ruby Freeman's home in Cobb County, Georgia, and attempted to contact her but was unsuccessful. Trayvon Cuddy spoke with Freeman's neighbor and falsely stated that she was a crisis manager attempting to help Freeman before leaving Freeman's home. It's an overact and further see conspiracy. Wow.
Stupid.
Act 118. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Trayvon Cuddy, while in Fulton County, Georgia, placed a telephone call to Ruby Freeman and stated that Freeman was in danger. Trayvon Cuddy stated that she could help Freeman and requested that Freeman meet with and speak to her that night at Cobb County Police Department precinct in Cobb County, Georgia. This is an overact and further see the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 119. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Trayvon Cuddy traveled to Cobb County Police Department precinct in Cobb County, Georgia, and met with and spoke to Ruby Freeman for approximately 1 hour. Harrison Floyd joined the meeting by telephone. Trayvon Cuddy and Harrison Floyd stated to Freeman that she needed protection and purported to offer her help. This is an overact and further see conspiracy. Wow.
Stupid.
All right. Page number 55, Act 120. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, and Trayvon Cuddy committed the felony offense of solicitation of false statements and writings in violation of OCGA 16-4-7 and 16-10-20 in Cobb County, Georgia, by soliciting, requesting an opportunity of Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker, to engage in conduct constituting the felony offense of false statements or writings OCGA 16-10-20 by knowingly and willfully making a false statement and representation concerning events at State Farm Arena in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia. Said statement and representation being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments and agencies of state government, and county and city law enforcement agencies, the intent that said person engage in said conduct. This is an act of racketeering under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, parentheses 22, and an overact and further to the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 121. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Stephen Clifford Lee, Harrison William Prescott Floyd, and Trayvon Cuddy committed the felony offense of influencing witnesses in violation of OCGA 16-10-93, parentheses B, parentheses 1, parentheses alpha, and Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly and unlawfully engaging in misleading conduct toward Ruby Freeman, a Fulton County, Georgia election worker, by stating that she needed protection and by purporting to offer help with intent to influence her testimony. In an official proceeding in Fulton County, Georgia, concerning events at State Farm Arena in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia, is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, parentheses 27, overt act and further see conspiracy. Page 56, Act 122. On or about the 4th day of January 2021, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, and Trayvon Cuddy placed multiple telephone calls and sent text messages to each other to other individuals involved in the conspiracy. They include the following. Number 1, at 9:41 a.m., Stephen Lee placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd.
Stupid.
Number 2, at 11:24 a.m., Harrison William Floyd placed a telephone call to David Schaefer.
Stupid.
Number 3, at 12:25 p.m., Stephen Lee placed a call to Harrison Floyd. Number 4, at 12:32 p.m., Stephen Lee sent a text message to Harrison Floyd. Number 5, at 8:10 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to David Schaefer. Number 6, at 10 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Stephen Lee. Number 7, at 10:19 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 8, at 10:43 p.m., Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. Number 9, at 11:10 p.m., Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. Number 10, at 12:12 a.m., January 5th, 2021, Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. These are over acts of furtherance of a conspiracy.
Stupid.
Page 57, Act 123. On or about the 4th day of January 2020, John Eastman placed a telephone call to Speaker of the House of Representatives, Rusty Bowers, and requested an opportunity Bowers to lawfully appoint presidential electors from Arizona. During the phone call, Bowers declined to comply with Eastman's request and stated that he would not risk violating his oath of office. The request is an overact of further conspiracy. Good for Rusty Bowers.
Stupid.
Act 124. On or about the 4th day. On or about the 4th day, January 21, Kenneth Cheeseborough sent an email to John Charles Eastman with the subject for draft 2 with edits. Included within the body of the email, another email. Kenneth Cheeseborough previously sent Rudy Giuliani with a subject, privilege, and confidential brief notes on President of Senate strategy. In the email, Kenneth Cheeseborough outlined multiple strategies disrupting and delaying the joint session of Congress. On January 6, 2021, the day prescribed law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and the other states, and stated that the outcomes of any of these strategies were preferable to align the electoral count to operate by turns. This is an overacting for the city conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act. There's a typo on here. It says Act 123. It's supposed to be Act 125. So Act 125, on or about the 4th day of January 2021, Donald Trump and John Eastman met with Vice President Mike Pence, Chief of Staff to the Vice President Mark Short, and Counselor to Vice President Greg Jacob in the Oval Office at the White House. During the meeting, Donald Trump and Charles Eastman argued to Pence that he could either reject electoral votes from certain states or delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and the other states for the purpose of allowing certain state legislatures to unlawfully appoint presidential electors in favor of Donald Trump. During the meeting, John Charles Eastman admitted both options violated the Electoral Count Act. It's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 58, Act 126. On or about the 5th day of January 2021, Janet Ellis wrote a memorandum titled Replying to Vice President Authority and County Electors pursuant to U.S. Constitution and 3 U.S. Code 5 and 15 to an attorney associated with Donald Trump. The memorandum outlined a strategy for disrupting and delaying the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and the other states, and stated the vice president should begin alphabetically in order of the states and coming first to Arizona, not open the purported certification, but simply stop the count at the juncture. This is over an act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 59, Act 127. On or about the 5th day of January 2021, Robert David Shelley, Stephen Lee, Harrison Floyd, Trayvon Cuddy, and Scott Hall placed multiple telephone calls to each other and to other individuals involved in the conspiracy. They include the following. Number 1, at 11:32 a.m., Stephen Lee placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 2, at 12:14, Harrison Floyd, Trayvon Cuddy, Stephen Lee, and undiagnosed co-conspirator individual 23. His identity is known to the grand jury. Participated in four-way telephone call. Number 3, at 12:19 p.m., Scott Graham Hall placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. Number 4, at 12:34 p.m., Scott Hall placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. Number 5, at 1:07 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Scott Hall. Number 6, at 1:09 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Scott Graham Hall. Number 7, at 2:30 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. Number 8, at 2:45 p.m., Harrison Floyd placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. Number 9, at 3:59 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Scott Graham Hall. Number 10, at 4:42 p.m., Stephen Lee placed a phone call to Robert David Chili. Number 11, at 4:50 p.m., Stephen Lee placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. Number 12, at 5:05 p.m., Stephen Lee placed a telephone call to Harrison Floyd. Number 13, at 7:19 p.m., Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. Number 14, at 7:48 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. At 8:27 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 16, at 8:49 p.m., Robert David Chili placed a telephone call to Stephen Lee. Number 17, at 9:18 p.m., Scott Graham Hall placed a telephone call to Robert Chili. Number 18, at 9:31 p.m., Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. Number 19, at 10:14 p.m., Robert Chili placed a telephone call to Stephen Clifford Lee. Number 20, at 11:16 p.m., Robert David Chili placed a telephone call to Trayvon Cuddy. Number 21, at 11:25 p.m., Scott Hall placed a telephone call to Robert Chili. Number 22, at 11:35 p.m., Robert David Chili, Trayvon Cuddy, and Scott Graham Hall participated in a three-way telephone call. Number 23, at 12:09 a.m. on January 6, 2021, Trayvon Cuddy placed a telephone call to Robert David Chili. These were overt acts of furtherance of conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 128. On or about the 5th day of January 21, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account, "We Donald Trump, the vice president has the power to reject fraudulently chosen electors." This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 61, Act 129. On about the 5th day of January 21, John Eastman met with Chief of Staff to the Vice President Mark Short and Counsel to the Vice President Rick Jacob for the purpose of requesting that Vice President Pence reject slates of the presidential electors from Georgia and certain other states during the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states. This is an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 130. On or about the 5th day of January 2021, Donald Trump met with Vice President Pence in the Oval Office in the White House. During the meeting, Donald Trump stated that Pence had the power to decertify the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election results, that people cheated, and Pence wanted to play by Marquise of Queensberry rules. When Pence stated that it was his duty to support and defend the Constitution, and that only Congress had the power to decide or reject slates of presidential electors, Donald Trump stated that Pence was naive, implied that he lacked courage, and stated that Pence was doing a great disservice. It's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 131. On or about the 5th day of January 20, 2021, Donald Trump placed a telephone call to Vice President Mike Pence. During the telephone call, Donald Trump and John Charles Eastman attempted to persuade Pence to reject slates of presidential electors or return the slates of presidential electors to state legislators. This is an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 132. On or about the 5th day of January 2021, Donald Trump placed a second telephone call to Vice President Mike Pence. During the telephone call, Donald Trump asked Pence if he had received a copy of a letter from a group of Pennsylvania legislators urging Congress to return the state's electoral college votes, and stated to Pence, "You gotta be tough tomorrow." This is an overt act of furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 133. On about the 5th day of January 2021, Donald John Trump issued a statement through the Trump campaign that falsely stated the vice president and I are in total agreement that the vice president has the power to act. A vice president has several options under the U.S. Constitution. He can decertify the results or send them back to the states or change the certification. He can also decertify the legal and corrupt results and send them to the House of Representatives for one vote for one state tabulation. This is an overt act and furthers of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 62, Act 134, on or about the 6th day of January 2021, Kathleen Alston Latham placed a telephone call to Scott Hall. Several hours later, Scott Hall placed a telephone call to Kathleen Latham. During at least one of the phone calls, they discussed Scott Hall's request to assist with unlawful breach of election equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia. These were overt acts and furthers of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 135. On or about the 6th day of January 2021, Donald John Trump appeared and spoke at a rally at the Ellipses in Washington, D.C. During the rally, Donald Trump made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia and elsewhere, solicited Vice President Mike Pence to disrupt the delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021. The day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states, and encouraged those in attendance at the rally to march to the United States Capitol. It's an overt act and furthers of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 136, on or about the 6th day of January 2021, Rudolph Giuliani appeared and spoke at the rally at the Ellipses in Washington, D.C. During the rally, Rudy Giuliani made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election in Georgia and elsewhere, and solicited Vice President Mike Pence to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021. The day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and the other states. This is overactive for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
Or Act 137. On about the 6th day of January 2021, John Eastman appeared and spoke at a rally at the Ellipses in Washington, D.C. During the rally, John Charles Eastman made false statements concerning fraud in the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election and solicited Vice President Mike Pence to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by the duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states. It's an overt act and further of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 63, Act 138. On or about the 6th day of January 2021, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account where Donald Trump, if Vice President Mike Pence comes through for us, we will win the presidency. Many states wanted to certify the mistake they made in certifying incorrect and even fraudulent numbers and process not approved by the state legislatures, which it must be. Mike can send it back. This is an overact and further a conspiracy.
Stupid.
Our Act 139. On or about the 6th day of January 2021, Donald Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account where Donald Trump. States want to correct their votes, which they now know were based on irregularities and fraud, plus corrupt process never received legislative approval. All Mike Pence has to do is send them back to the states and we win. Do it, Mike. This is time for extreme courage. This is an overact and further to conspiracy.
Stupid.
Our Act 140. On or about the 6th day of January 2021, Donald Trump placed a telephone call to Vice President Mike Pence and solicited him to disrupt and delay the joint session of Congress on January 6, 2021, the day prescribed by law for counting votes cast by duly elected and qualified presidential electors from Georgia and other states. When Pence refused, Donald Trump stated that Pence would go down as a wimp, that Pence was not protecting the United States. This was an overact of furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 64, Act 141. On about the 6th day of January 2021, John Eastman sent an email to counsel to the Vice President Greg Jacob that stated, the Senate and House have both violated the electoral count this evening. They debated the Arizona objections for more than 2 hours. Violation of 3 U.S.C. 17 and the Vice President allowed further debate or statements by leadership after the question had been voted upon. Violation of 3 U.S.C. 17 and they had that debate upon motion approved by the VP a violation of the requirement in 3 USC 15 that after the vote separate houses, they shall immediately again meet. So now that the president has been said that the Electoral Count Act is not quite so sacrosanct as was previously claimed, I implore you to consider one more relatively minor violation and adjourn for 10 days to allow the legislators to finish their investigations, as well as to allow a full forensic audit of the massive amount of legal activity that has occurred here. If none of that moves the needle, at least a good portion of the 75 million people who supported President Trump will have seen a process to allow the illegality to be aired. Signed, John. It's an overact and furthers a conspiracy.
Stupid.
Our Act 142. On or about the 7th day of January 2021, Kathleen Latham sent a text message to the Chief Operations Officer of Silicon Strickler LLC with the address of the Douglas Municipal Airport in Coffee County, Georgia, to coordinate pick up Scott Hall from the airport, driving into the Coffee County Board of Elections Registration Office for the purpose of assisting with the unlawful breach of election equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office. It's an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 143, on or about the 7th day of January 2021, Scott Graham Hall, an unindicted co-conspirator, individual 24, whose identity is known to the grand jury, flew from DeKalb Peachtree Airport in DeKalb County, Georgia, Douglas Municipal Airport in Coffee County, Georgia, for the purpose of assisting with a lawful breach of election equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and the Registration Office. It's an overact and racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overact and further to the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 65, Act 144. On about the 7th day of January 2021, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, and Misty Hampton committed the felony offense interference with primaries and elections in violation of OCGA and 21-2-566 in Coffee County, Georgia, by willfully and unlawfully tampering with electronic ballot markers and tabulating machines in Coffee County, Georgia. This is an overt act and furtherance of a conspiracy. Act 145. On about the 7th day of January 2021, Cindy Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, Misty Hampton committed the felony offense of unlawful possession of ballots in violation of OCGA 21-2-574 in Coffee County, Georgia, by causing certain members of the conspiracy who were not officers charged by law with the care of ballots and who were not persons entrusted by any such officer with the care of ballots for a purpose required by law to possess official ballots outside the polling place in Coffee County, Georgia. This is over acts and furthers of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 146, on about the 7th day of January 2021, Cindy Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, Misty Hampton committed the felony offense of computer theft in violation of OCGA 16-9-93, parentheses Alpha in Coffee County, Georgia, by using a computer with knowledge that such use was without authority with the intention of taking and appropriating information, data, and software, the property of Dominion Voting Systems Corporation in Coffee County, Georgia. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, and parentheses XIX, parentheses, and an overact for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 147, on about the 7th day of January 2021, Sydney Catherine Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, Misty Hampton committed the felony offense of computer trespass in violation of OCGA 16-9-93, parentheses B in Coffee County, Georgia, by using a computer with knowledge that such use was without authority and with the intention of removing voter data and Dominion voting systems, corporation data from state computer in Coffee County, Georgia. This is an active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, parentheses XIX, and an overactive for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
Our Act 148, on about the 7th day of January 2021. Cindy Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, Missy Hampton committed the felony offense of computer invasion of privacy and violation of OCGA 16-9-93C in Coffee County, Georgia, by using a computer with the intention of examining personal voter data with knowledge that such examination was without authority. This was over active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, parentheses XIX, close parentheses, and an overact in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 149. On or between the 6th day of December 2020 and the 7th day of January 1, Cindy Powell, Kathleen Latham, Scott Hall, Christy Hampton committed the felony offense of conspiracy to defraud the state in violation of OCGA 16-10-21 in Coffee County, Georgia, by unlawfully conspiring and agreeing to commit theft of voter data, property which is under the control of Georgia Secretary of State Bradley Raffensperger, a state officer in his official capacity. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overacting for the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 150. On about the 9th day of January 2021, the 10th day of January 2021, the 11th day of January 2021, and the 13th day of January 2021. Unindicted co-conspirator individual 25, whose identity is known to the grand jury, unlawfully accessed certain data copied from Dominion voice systems equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia, by downloading its data from server maintained by Sullivan Stricker LLC. This is an active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overactive for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 151. On about the 9th day of January 2021, the 10th day of January 2021, the 11th day of January 2021, the 18th day of January 2021, and the 19th day of January 2021, unindicted co-conspirator individual 26, whose identity is unknown to the grand jury, unlawfully accessed certain data copied from Dominion voting systems equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections, a registration office in Coffee County, Georgia, by downloading said data from server maintained by Sullivan Stricker LLC. This is an active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overacting for this of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 67, Act 152. On about the 10th day of January 2021, the 12th day of January 2021, the 13th day of January 2021, the 25th day of February 2021, and the 26th day of February 2021. Unindicted co-conspirator individual 27, whose identity is unknown to the grand jury, unlawfully accessed certain data copied from the Dominion voting systems equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia, by downloading said data from server maintained by Sullivan Stricker LLC. This is an active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overactive for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 153. On or about the 13th day of January 2021, unindicted co-conspirator individual 28, whose identity is known to the grand jury, unlawfully accessed certain data copied from Dominion voting systems equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia, by downloading said data server maintained by Sullivan Stricker LLC. This was an active racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overactive for the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 154, on or about the 18th day of January 2021. Misty Hampton followed unindicted co-conspirator individual 25 and individual 29, whose identities are known to the grand jury. So it says non-public areas of the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia, and facilitated access to Dominion voting system equipment. This is over act of furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
Act 155. On or about the 22nd day of April 2021, unindicted co-conspirator individual 28, whose identity is known to the grand jury, sent an email to the Chief Operations Officer of Sullivan Strickler LLC, directing him to transmit all data copied from Dominion voting systems equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia, to unindicted co-conspirator individual 30, whose identity is known to the grand jury, an attorney associated with Sidney Powell and the Trump campaign. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses Bravo, and an overact in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 68, Act 156. On or about the 70th day of September 2021, Donald Trump committed the felony offense of solicitation of violation of oath by public officer and violation of OCGA 16-4-7 and 16-10-1 in Fulton County, Georgia, by unlawfully soliciting and requesting an opportunity. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, a public officer, to engage in conduct constituting the felony offense of violation of a public officer, OCGA 16-10-1, by unlawfully decertify the election or whatever the correct legal remedy is and announce the true winner. Willful and intentional violation of the terms of the oath of said person as prescribed by law, an intent that said person engaged in said conduct. This is an overact in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 157. On or about the 17th day of September 2021, Donald John Trump committed the felony offense of false statements and writings in violation of OCGA 6-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making the following false statements in representation of the Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. As stated to you previously, the number of false and or regular votes is far greater than needed to change the Georgia election result. The statement being within the jurisdiction of the Office of the Georgia Secretary of State and the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, departments, agencies of state government, and county and city law enforcement agencies. This is an act of racketeering activity under OCGA and 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, parentheses 22, and overact for this other conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 69, Act 158. On or about the 25th day of April 2022, David Schaefer committed the felony offense of false statements and writings of violation of OCGA 16-10-20 in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making at least one of the following false statements or representations in the presence of Fulton County District Attorney's Office investigators. Wow.
Stupid.
Number one, that he intended and convened the December 14, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential electoral nominees in Fulton County, Georgia, but that he did not call each of the individual members and notify them of a meeting or make any other preparations necessary for the meeting.
Stop the cap.
Number two, that a court reporter was not present at the December 14, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential electoral nominees in Fulton County, Georgia. Said statements being within the jurisdiction of Fulton County District Attorney's Office, a department and agencies of the government of a county of this state. It's an act of racketeering activity under OCGA and 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses A, 22, and an overact in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, Act 159. On or about the 7th day of May 2022, Sidney Catherine Powell made at least one of the following false statements and representations in his sworn deposition with the United States House of Representatives, the committee to investigate the January 6th attack of the United States Capitol. Number one, that she didn't have any role in really setting up efforts to access voting machines in Coffee County, Georgia, or Antrim County, Michigan. Number two, that she was aware that there was an effort by some people to get access to voting machines in Georgia, that she did not know what happened with that and did not remember where that was really or other folks. This was an overact and furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page 70, Act 160. On about the first day, 2022, Kathleen Latham committed a felony offense of perjury in violation of OCGA 16-10-70, parentheses alpha, in Houston County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making at least one of the following false statements in his deposition in the matter of Curling v. Raffensperger, case 1:17- Charlie Victor -02989 Alpha Tango in the United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia. A judicial proceeding after having been administered a lawful oath. Number one, that she was only present at the Coffee County Board of Elections Registration Office in Coffee County, Georgia for just a few minutes on January 7, 2020. Number two, that she only walked into the front part of the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7, 2021, and didn't go into the office. Number three, that she had no idea if employees of Sullivan Strickler met Eric Cheney at the Coffee County Board of Elections and the Registration Office on January 7, 2021. Number four, that she did not see Misty Hampton in the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7, 2021. Number five, that her only interaction with Scott Hall at the Coffee County Board of Elections and Registration Office on January 7, 2021 was meeting him, speaking to him outside the office, and then leaving the office. Number six, that she did not see Scott Hall speak to anyone other than herself at the Coffee County Board of Elections and the Registration Office on January 7, 2021. The statements being material to the accused's own involvement in the January 7, 2021 a lawful breach of election equipment at the Coffee County Board of Elections and the Registration Office, and to the accused communications with others involved, the issues in question. This was an overt act of racketeering activity under OCGA and 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, parentheses 25, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
All right, page number 71, Act 161. On or about the 15th day of September 2022, Robert Shelley committed the felony offense of perjury in violation of OCGA 16-10-70, parentheses alpha, in Fulton County, Georgia, by knowingly, willfully, and lawfully making at least one of the following false statements before the Fulton County Special Purpose Grand Jury, a judicial proceeding after having been administered a lawful oath. Whew.
Stupid.
Number one, that he was unaware of the December 14, 2020 meeting with Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County, Georgia. So after the meeting had already taken place. Number two, that he had no substantive conversation with anyone concerning the December 14, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County, Georgia. So after the meeting had already taken place. Number three, that he never suggested to anyone that the Trump presidential elector nominees in Georgia should meet on December 14, 2020. Number four, that only communication he had with John Eastman concerning the November 3rd, 2020 presidential election was for the purpose of connecting Eastman to Georgia Senator Brandon Beach, an unindicted co-conspirator individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury for possible legal representation. Number five, that he never worked to connect John Eastman with any Georgia legislators other than Georgia Senator Brandon Beach, and undoubted co-conspirator individual 8, whose identity is known to the grand jury. Said statements being material to the accused's own involvement in the December 14, 2020 meeting of Trump presidential elector nominees in Fulton County, Georgia, and to the accused's communications with others involved in the meeting. The issues in question. This was an act of racketeering activity under OCGA 16-14-3, parentheses 5, parentheses alpha, 5625, and an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy.
Stupid.
The acts set forth above were committed in furtherance of the conspiracy alleged above and had the same similar intents, results, and accomplices, victims, and methods of commission, and otherwise interrelated by distinguishing characteristics and were not isolated acts. That's page 71. That was count number 1. Okay. Well, I'm going to end on page 71. Again, I'm ending this page on 71. Now remember, this is 98-page indictment. I'm on number 71 right now. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to pick back up tomorrow. And I appreciate it. Appreciate you guys for being with me. And you guys have a wonderful day. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.